Hey guys, it's Emmy, and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. So for today, I'm going to talk about Junji Ito and why he's one of my favorite horror mangakas and why I think he's so good at what he does. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all that good shit. Anyways, let's get started. Junji Ito is probably one of the best horror mangakas out there, most notably known for his works on Tomie, published in the monthly Halloween shoujo magazine in 1987, which tells the story of a beautiful and young woman who gets men to fight over her to the point of their death. Also known for Uzumaki, appearing as a serial in the weekly magazine Big Comic Spirits from 1988 to 1999, which details the story of a cursed village who struggles with strange addictions with spirals, which causes them a lot of pain. A more recent one being Kyo, another serial in the weekly magazine Big Comic Spirits from 2001-2002, which is about undead fish and metal legs, and for those who haven't seen this clip around, yeah, me too. Funny enough, that scene is what got me to find out about Junji Ito, as I was a little horror fiend and I was your typical edgy, socially awkward millennial, very much into memes and shitposts. So imagine my delight when, I'm a 16-year-old me stumbles upon a video of sharks with legs chomping on people. But that's not important. Let's just say I very much appreciated it, and I fell down the rabbit hole of looking into who the fuck that was and what his story was about. But as I was saying, while these stories are some of his most notable works, they're but the peak of the iceberg in terms of truly fantastic content that's just waiting to meet the eye. Junji serves to unsettle the reader with some really good storytelling, truly unique premises for a story, and of course unnerving imagery, which just adds to the sense of unease you get when you read it. I mean, I think those who've read it remember and well know the typical Junji Ito page turn, where you turn the page and then there's something super grotesque in the next page and you're kind of caught off guard, but not truly, because you were kind of expecting it, because it builds up to that, but you never expect just how crazy it gets. Yeah, that's what he's most well known for, I think. He's a master in making you turn the page just to witness something a little crazy. And, I'm all here for it. He takes some of the most nonchalant events and turns it into really wacky scenarios you honestly would have never expected. I mean, stay with me for a minute, right? Let's envision it. What if you had a pottery collection, but you became so obsessed with spirals that you just started getting lost in it, until eventually you became the spiral, losing yourself to the swirly patterns as your collection grows bigger and bigger until you end up being the last piece of the collection? Or what if you were obsessed with the idea of figuring out your destiny, fighting your fate, become so engulfed with the idea that you decide you want to travel somewhere in hopes of figuring it out, and then you find a cave, but it's not a regular cave, it's just like you. It's perfectly molded to your body, and you know right away it's meant for you. So you walk in and you wonder, what exactly is it? Only to find yourself slowly getting tugged at day by day, minute by minute, seconds by seconds. Your limbs being more and more pulled, more and more deformed, until you become nothing but a shadow of what you once were. Now only a shell of a human, no longer able to sustain yourself because your limbs are now spaghetti. But maybe these mundanities aren't for you. Maybe you dream of something bigger, like fame. Maybe you want power. What if you were to be famous? So much so that everyone knew you, the whole world around you knew who you were. But there was a catch. You weren't quite famous. You were more so infamous, disliked, hated. So badly so that people wanted to take your life, even if it wasn't necessarily fair. So you would run away, just hoping to find a sense of freedom, a place where you could belong. But they wouldn't let you go. They would chase you down until they would find you, and they would try to kill you. Ito's preferred style of horror being, of course, grotesque imagery, which is so well done and leaves you with a sense of disgust with the detailing of the faces sometimes he serves to the readers, and some of the most creative yet atrocious creations I really wouldn't even think of seeing in my nightmares. I truly appreciate the way he details every single crevice in a piece. I mean, who can forget the woman next door with her boils and her grotesque features? I mean, would you want to sit around and maybe open your window only to see someone with like warts and boils and yellow teeth, and you could tell just by the simple black and white page just how atrocious this woman really is, which I will touch on slightly. The anime, honey, the anime. I'm not talking about the Tomie remake. Of Uzumaki. I'm specifically talking about the Junji Ito collection. Now, I will slightly touch on it because it's relevant to the topic. I don't like the fact that the coloring actually ruined it a lot. It didn't bring the same level of intensity that you actually get from the black and white details that you kind of get from the manga. It didn't serve the way that it should have. That makes any kind of sense. It felt a lot more bland, and it wasn't as entertaining. Neither was it as really terrifying as I know that some of Junji's work can be. As someone who's always seeking out horror tales for myself, everything starts to feel very repetitive at times. I mean, you get your typical paranormal stories, and then you get your thrillers, serial killer tales, which is often in games and all good. Then you get your demon possessions sprinkled here and there, but it starts to feel very obvious and bland. I mean, I can sometimes have a harder time finding a horror story or even a horror movie, even a horror anime, really, that quite satiates me the way I want to be satiated. But when finding Junji's work, I mean, I find myself mesmerized by it in general and its intriguing nature. It catapults me into binging his work, honestly. His main characters do tend to be very bland. However, they're never the main focus of the stories. The villains usually are. By bringing his characters into this kind of bland personalities, it really does illustrate just the dichotomy and the intensity of just how wacky his fucking villains can be, because, well, I mean, if the main character doesn't have much personality, of course, when personality shows up in a villain, or in a side character, or even in an anime, or whatever it may be, it's going to be highlighted that much more. If you really strip down the concept of a lot of these creations, villains, they may not be the most interesting in certain aspects. I mean, a woman next door, an old lady next door, a typical high school girl, a spiral, a shark. Actually, a shark may be a little scary for most. A model, a random model in the woods. It's very bland ideas. It's really simple ideas, and pretty much anybody could really think of if we really sat here, but the issue being, how do you make that entertaining? How do you make that scary? Well, he found the perfect way to do so. And that specific way is through, well, the grotesque. Sometimes you don't need to have a very typical serial killer, big knife, creepy ghost, whatever. Sometimes you can unnerve just by being disgusting. And I know a lot of people may not necessarily agree on that. I know this idea of being disgusting isn't necessarily horror per se. It's the way you perform it, the way you use it. You can bring it into a horrific aspect. I don't always need to see blackened out eyes and blood everywhere and cuts and bruises. And sometimes horror isn't just putting hyper-realistic eyes on a cartoon character. 2012, I'm talking to you, honey. Sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes what you really need is just a little bit of creativity, thinking outside the box, making work out of very simple things you may not have even thought of. Honestly, who would have thought of like a spiral being creepy? But it works. And he makes it work because he thinks outside the box and he gives you a perspective that you may have not had prior. You don't need a happy ending for every horror story now. Not to say every horror story has an happy ending. I think horror especially has a tendency to go the other route and make endings sad just because they want to, be edgy or have a twist that isn't no longer a twist. No longer having a happy ending for horror story is actually a very common trait. It's not unique anymore. It's very much done. Having a happy ending would be more unique at this point than having a bad one. Now, as a bonus round, I'm gonna quick fire tell you guys some of my favorites in case my video made you interested into looking into it. If you're a new player in the Junji Ito field, I'm gonna let you know some of my recommendations, my favorite, so you can check them out if you're interested. I hope you guys appreciated the video, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the next one. I will be back. I said I was going to post more than once every week, but I've decided I'm going to keep it to once a week. So if you guys liked it, make sure you subscribe so you can see more from me. I'm going to see you guys in the next video.